this is Nerds Gone Rogue Radio, a B-side. And it's a B-side with only two people. And the two people in this B-side is me, Matthew Keel, and Moose, my my hammer bro. Almost had a third, but due to some technical difficulties, wasn't able to happen.
Right.
But that's coming back. That'll happen. Nothing really big to talk about, but like except for Toys R Us is closing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's probably silly for two people approaching 40 to discuss a toy store, but I think Toys R Us played a decent role in fostering our love of video games because
big time.
If you're as old as I am, you remember going to the toy store, going to the video game aisle, and you noticed endless folders filled with like pieces of paper, where you had to pull out the piece of paper and take it to a man in like a cave.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just in like this little window that was like way smaller than a McDonald's drive-up window. And then you like peer in just a little bit while he goes to get it. And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
All that cool stuff back there.
It was just like, man, like what, I mean, I've watched a lot of heist movies and everything, but like in my head, I literally thought of like, how do I get in there and how do I get all of that? But never put a plan into action because, well, my follow through is kind of bad. But do you have any vivid memories of a trip to Toys R Us?
We used to go. So my childhood memories are like spotty. Like I just remember things here or there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like I remember my whole 8th grade year or whatever. So, like I remember going and checking it out. Like ours were the ones that like flipped up. So like it had you go, and personally I didn't play with a lot of like toys, but that was my younger brother. So like my mom we'd go for him with that, and then I'd check out the video games, and if I had some spare cash, I'd buy one. If not, whatever. And then, so while we were there, like when ours had it where it was like the front cover and it was a plastic flap, and you would flip it up, and it would be the back cover on the back, and then inside the pocket behind that was where the slip was you would get. And then like sometimes you'd always be like, oh, I hope they still have a copy. You know what I mean? Like they didn't print more copies of the slip than they had like available. And if they didn't have one, you'd always have to come back. Or if it was a game that you really, really wanted, you'd have to talk to parents into maybe going to like another toy store to try and find it. Something like, maybe go, because like the mall that Andy and I grew up near, like it was like Toys R Us, and then when Circuit City became big, Circuit City was right next to that. But like across the street was like JCPenney and Sears, and like Sears was kind of getting into video games at that time, They weren't as big as toy stores were, but so anyways, yeah, like I remember going and picking up GoldenEye.
Yeah.
So like that was one of the big ones. Like I did have some Genesis games. Like I bought my Genesis from Toys R Us. Like I bought it with my own money.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first system I ever bought with my own money. Bought it at Toys R Us. Bought I think Sonic came with it. And then it was I bought X-Men 2 Clone Wars. Yeah. And so I played the hell out of those. And then N64 was a birthday or Christmas present. So then I had, so then I bought GoldenEye. Like I remember driving up there. Me and my buddy rode with me. So we would go up there. We went up there and then picked it up and then just played forever. Like me and my buddies played GoldenEye in high school. Like
GoldenEye was GOAT for a while.
Yeah, and then I remember having to get rumble packs so that you could have like the feedback of the, which was just mind blowing at the time. mind blowing at the time. It's all like you for like someone to experience who hasn't experienced it yet. It's almost like, have you played video games before? And if they're like no, then you gotta be like, okay, turn the vibration off and let them play for a while with no vibration, and then be like, this is what it was like getting a rumble pack, and like pop it in there and boom, Yeah. And so that was a lot of fun. And the first analog stick too, the N64.
Yeah, that was weird. That was real weird.
But yeah, mainly, and then I think like towards my N64 days and towards my because I got an N64 maybe a year or two before high school was over, maybe just a year before, so like 97, because it came out in 96, didn't it? So I think I got it. Yeah,
95,
I think it was
96.
96. I think it was 96. So I got it like either that Christmas or the Christmas of 97, and I graduated in 98. So I didn't have it for that long after I bought it and then switched to PlayStation. But at that time, like Best Buy had video games, like Circuit City had video games, like the other stores that did electronics were starting to dive into selling video games. And so you could go and like buy a CD. That was the one thing that Toys R Us didn't have. It was like you could go to Circuit City or Best Buy and buy a CD of a band you've been waiting for, or whatever, and then pick up a video game. You know what I mean? Like it was like a one-stop shop instead of, because like Toys R Us was more for like the people buying video games who were also buying like toys. And I mean, now they had toys for, what was it? What is the name of those things? Like the Toys to Life or whatever for the video games, like
Skylanders.
Yeah, like Skylanders, Disney Infinity, Lego Dimensions. Like they had that stuff, but I never got into it. So
yeah.
What about you?
My Toys R Us memories, like I remember looking at video games and thinking like, roaming those shelves and just staring for a while. But really, my real big, memories for Toys R Us is actually more G.I. Joe based.
Yeah.
Like I was really into G.I. Joes as a kid. Like I didn't have a ton, at least like I didn't have a lot at my mom's house. My dad, my biological father, his parents, whenever I went there, like I had more like male cousins on that side of the family that played G.I. Joe, so there were always a ton there, and I loved playing with them there. And then whenever I went to Toys R Us, I would actually spend a lot of time just looking at G.I. Joes, reading the cards, looking at the back of the packaging, really trying to figure out who that army man was. And then you find out he's just a really overrated football player that was really happy. Yeah, Fritz, I'm talking about you. Nothing against you. You're on my Bears. You were on my team. And you scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. That should have been Walter Payton. So I'm mad at you. We still won. But it's been too long. I also I was a big WWF guy, and before it became WWE, like when it was Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, and Ultimate Warrior, when those guys were the big dogs on the block. I liked going there, looking at those toys. But I'm actually thinking about it. I think I had got a bunch of Nintendo games from Toys R Us, but like only one or two I actually remember like being around and for the purchase and looking in the room for that vault that he have. WWF. Yes, Benny Blanco.
Yeah, Benny.
WWF.
WWF.
World Wrestling Federation. Fuck the NWO. I was all about Heart Foundation, Twin Towers, Demolition. Yeah. Road Warriors were all right. I'm all right with the Road. I wanted the Rockers to be like really cool, but they were a flash in the pan, and Shawn Michaels became whatever he became, and then I don't know what happened to Marty Jannetty. I don't know either. After that, my wrestling knowledge sort of drops. I know that Stone Cold was a thing, and I know that The Rock was a thing, and apparently now Cena's a thing, and I've heard of CM Punk, but I can't really tell you much more else.
Cena's been a thing for a while. He went away and came back, and I don't know. So doing his own thing.
Apparently, The Undertaker's still around, which is fucking weird. But
I think he did his last match though, didn't he?
I think WrestleMania last year was his last match or something. He was retired.
I have no idea. Let Dan Reichert explain that on Giant Bomb. Let him do that. He'll do it better than I will. I did like going to Toys R Us. In fact, the last time I was at Toys R Us was a couple years ago, and I'm of the age where, a lot of my friends have kids, so I get to go buy gifts for the kids. And that's a weird thing because I only know what to buy me if I were a kid. I don't know what to buy somebody else's kid. I just don't. And but walking around Toys R Us, like it was still cool. Like when I had a brief and rather expensive affair with Skylanders, and I'm glad that's over. And like I think going to a toy store is a wondrous thing, and you were made aware of KB making a comeback.
Yeah.
By Jeff Glasson. Nerds Gone Platinum's own Platinum himself.
Yeah. Yeah, which is really interesting. I could see them doing it, but they need to be smart about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they need to. Andy's saying in the chat, The Undertaker is legend status, which means he's part-time, so only does like 2 to 3 shows a year. So that's why he can. That's how he can still be.
That's why he's still banging.
Yes, but he's not. I was like, I thought he retired, but that explains why he's still. He's still around. You're hearing him still be around, and I'm like, I thought he stopped because Anyways, but yeah, I think KB would be cool. They just have to not. They just have a lot of landmines that they need to sidestep. Like they have to make sure that they make their stores destination stores. Like
before we go there, did you read the article at all? Like go through it a little bit if you could.
All right, we'll do.
I apologize.
No, it's all right. Now I gotta go up. Figure this out. Give me a second. Wow, is all we can say after our first announcement here at LinkedIn in that we're bringing back a KB toy store very soon. We receive so many calls, emails, and private messages support as we try to save the toy, hashtag save the toy industry. Due to the overwhelming response, we can't commit to replying back immediately, but we will get to all messages as fast as we can. Many of you ask what our plans will be, and all we can say is we spent the last 6 months working on a sustainable model to bring back KB Toys the right way so it can compete with not only the big box stores, but online as well. So I think that's pretty smart of them. Like they have we understand we're not just restarting the only other well-known and loved toy chain in the U.S., but hope to find places for those 32,000 jobs, which will be lost as Toys R Us closes. So they're kind of like thinking of coming back in. They're trying to accelerate the process so that they can open up the stores for the Christmas season. Maybe they could do something when they see, now this would be smart. If they could come in and like take the Toys R Us stores, buy them like dirt cheap, because I think Toys R Us is like $4 billion in debt. Or some
they're liquidating.
Shit.
I mean,
yeah, they're insanely in debt. Buy their space, their brick and mortar shops, and put your KB brand in there. And then what you do is you have a good online presence. Build a good website. Build a way where, okay, if you're out shopping for presents or gifts or whatever, if you're out and about, you can stop at a KB toy store, or you can shop online and say you could, and then they could have in-store pickup. They could also have, it would be wise of them to try and work out exclusive deals with toy companies to be maybe only with them. Not only in that capacity, but possibly something that's online only, so that it keeps like their online business going as well. So they can build up their online business as well as build up their store, like their storefront. Because I'll be honest, like brick and mortar is probably, going the way of the dodo. Like I could see Best Buy having to shut down some stores, relatively soon, just because. But there are old school shoppers kind of like me who are like, if I'm going to buy a washer and dryer, I want to go to the store to look at it. Andy saying Hasbro exclusive Transformers would be cool. If you get exclusive Transformers at KB toy stores, I know a lot of people would just go there to be able to get those toys because they're collectors. And, and like I said, like have like some sweet deal where like, hey, you want to order it online and you're going to be out and about tomorrow. Like you could, they have exclusive deals, but then also, like I said, like in-store pickup. That's probably something that Toys R Us didn't do. Like you could order it online and then they would reserve it at the store and you could go to the store and pick it up. And then that way you're not like, well, I might not be home when it's delivered, or if I take the chance and go to the store, it might not be there when I get there. You know what I mean? Like you pretty much lock in whatever you're trying to buy, at that store. Like it could be the freaking Solaire amiibo for Dark Souls remastered on the Switch, where Matt, you could be like online, you buy it and then pick it up in store and just drive by it on the way home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that, I think that would be smart of them to kind of diversify what they do instead of just being like, we're a store that sells toys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like, I think that stores like Walmart and Best Buy probably to some degree, and the bigger box department stores, and I can't really name any else. I don't really remember them. They fought really, really hard, probably to keep things off of Amazon.
Yeah.
Because they were, instead of worrying about how to change with the time, they worried about someone taking their lunch.
Yeah, exactly. They were trying to push to compete instead of changing with the tides, to make sure that they were a viable company.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then Andy in the chat also brings, what about card and board game tournaments?
See, that would be something they could do.
That would be that's a very doable thing, but I feel like Toys R Us has a certain connotation. And I mean, I know that you could get Magic cards at Toys R Us, but you could get Magic cards at Target as well. I don't think you could get like Dark Souls the board game at Toys R Us or Gloomhaven or I mean, you could probably get Pandemic just because that's a big enough seller. Same thing with like Ticket to Ride, Cards Against Humanity. Those have transcended just being board and card games.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there's a certain niche that sort of just moves away from toy stores. Like I don't think you want to walk into Toys R Us for your Warhammer.
Well, I see. That's where I think they could buck that trend.
And again, I'm just saying.
Bringing KB coming back.
Yeah, like and I'm just saying what I know, not like right. I'm not,
because like if they kind of try and be like the one-stop shop where they're like, okay, Dad loves these type of games. The son loves these type of games. Okay, well, here's what we do. Today is going to be, we're going to have Lego building for the kids, and we're going to do a Magic tournament for the adults. So the dad can go and play in the tournament, and then the kid can go and just spend all day building Legos. Mm-hmm. And then when the kid's done, He could go, oh, I really love this creation. Dad, I want to buy it. Boom, buy it, take it home, play with it when he gets home, you know. So it's something, you know, they could try and instead of just focusing on not necessarily like the child like age, but like have it be like have some more not necessarily, you know, like have a better demographic. You know what I mean? So like you could have you could just target people who love board games, whether they're 13-year-olds or they're 31-year-olds, you know what I mean? And have a little bit of something for everybody, you know. And I mean, I know some 31-year-olds who wouldn't mind building Legos, and not that I don't look down on that. That's fine, dude. If you love building Legos and that's your creative outlet, that's awesome because
I mean,
I need to follow like a blueprint to build.
Oh, me too. I'm the same way, but like I've thought about getting that Lego Star Destroyer. Thought about getting the Lego Millennium Falcon, and I've thought about getting the Death Star. Again, I'm glad I'm only thinking about it.
Yeah,
because and that's been one of the only things like where Reba has said, "Where would you put it?"
Yeah.
And then I look around, I'm like, well, I can't put it in like the living space. Not because I'm like ashamed or anything, but there are certain other things that go into that that I'm not going to go into here. And I don't think my office space, when it's actually emptied out and can hold stuff, I think it'll actually be too big for that little room. I think all of those things I mentioned will be just too intrusive to try and put them in there. But I like what if they found a way to interact with like or to interact with like Kickstarter board games or things like that. Say like, hey, you want it? I know, like invest. I know you. Well, even that, but like maybe you give them a place to like say, hey, we want to give you a way to sort of demo your games in person.
Well, they could also do. They could be like the Sony of Kickstarter board games. Be like, okay, listen, we'll invest. We'll give you the money you need. What do you need to actually make this viable to demo in our stores? We'll give you that amount of money, and then your board game stays exclusive for either a year, or if they make enough money back, you know, like if they make enough money back in 6 months, they still get it for a year and then it's gone. Or, you know what I mean? Or, hey, if it takes 3 years for them to pay back that money to KB, that's how long it stays exclusive. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how Sony did. They were with indie games. They were like, we'll give you the money to we'll publish it or give you the money to develop it, but it stays exclusive until, you know, you pay it back or a certain amount of time. So they could do that with Kickstarter board games. They could be, you know, go to somebody and be like, here's your money. You stay exclusive to us for this amount of time, or, you know, whatever. Because, you know, because that person could come up with a really cool idea with something that's hot at the time. And if it's really cool, it might sell really quickly. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they could probably make that money like pretty well. But so I think that could be something cool that they could do. You know what I mean? And
yeah, I agree.
Heck, if you like, it doesn't even have to be in stores. The demos in stores, you know, have a couple copies in store, but it's also something that you could buy online too. Like maybe have the sale online, and you could just, or you could even get a discount from shopping online. You know what I mean? Trying, because like that's going to be a balance. Because, you know, you gotta, but then like it's also, are you going to be like a jack of all trades, master of none? That's the other thing. Do you spread yourself too thin? You know, like what do you really focus on? You know, so I think what they would have to do is they'd have to shrink the store. But see, like then if they took half the store and did it where they were like, here's where our card games and our Lego building stuff is, or not even half, like a third of it, and then the rest of it is, you know, and cut back on the selection. Because I mean, like we were talking about it, you could go into a Toys R Us and their board game aisle is like freaking 3 aisles. You go to Target and it's like maybe an aisle.
It's like a half a shelf.
It's like a half a shelf. So if you trim down, what you could do is offer that stuff online and trim down to a certain set, you know, back a little bit, and then you could even just have a little. You could just have a little iPad, like an end cap. and just say it's your board game central. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and just say, you walk up and you say, what game are you looking for? Oh, we don't have that in stock here, but we have it online. You can order it online, have it delivered to the store, come back and get it. Maybe the next time you come, or delivered to your house. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you do too. Yes, yeah, Andy, no. I know, again, demographics, but you gotta, if you're trying to start a business, you kind of gotta, if they're gonna try and upstart it, they've got to put some feelers out there. They can't be doing just what Toys R Us was doing. They have to try and do something different.
It has to be different. It has to be different.
Because Toys R Us wasn't working, although Toys R Us was probably run by a bunch of morons. So they didn't change very much. So,
yeah, I think for a while it was fine, and then I know once I think they were bought by Vane Capital at some point. Mm-hmm. And Vane Capital is a venture capitalist company, and venture capitalists, all they do is shed themselves of investment for profit.
Right.
And my first job in Philadelphia was
porn.
No.
That's not venture capitalism.
No, that's not venture capitalism. My first job in I mean, there's probably venture capitalists that do porn. I'm pretty sure they're just looking for the money.
Yeah.
Or the money shot. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my first job was at a place called Ex Libris, and it was born out of the .com boom. It was exlibris.com. It was a self-publisher where you could basically you could basically publish anything you wrote into a book for a fee. Nice. And it was a cool little place, but at the same time, once the CEO started talking to venture capitalists, like,
y'all need to get the fuck out.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get laid off. And then literally before, like, a lot of people started finding jobs quickly. I was one of the last people there to have a job because I was just a shipper, and I hadn't been to college, so I was like trying to find jobs, but it's really hard. It's really hard to find a decent paying job when you don't have any academics.
Yeah, that's true.
And then eventually I went back to school, and now I have too many jobs. So
struggle is real, bro.
I mean,
it's funny. It's like I look back at my career, and a lot of the jobs I worked, you don't really need a degree.
Yeah, you. I mean, I'm lucky. I basically kind of went to a trade.
Yeah, right. I feel like there was an article I read.
Wow, Matt Phillips on time like the hands of a clock, unless you do trades.
Yeah, that's right. He's right. You don't need a degree unless you do trades. But like, I read an article some time ago where they were like, the only thing a degree does for you is tell somebody you have the ability to commit to something. You have the willingness and the drive to commit to something, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
you can stick with something for a certain amount of time and pass, as it were. I mean, a lot of my heroes don't have degrees from anything.
Right.
Matt Phillips doesn't even have a high school diploma, and he's my hero. So,
he's the smartest of the brood, can claim.
Yeah, he is. He's the Jizza. Yes, I said it, Phillips.
But
okay, so I think we're sad about Toys R Us. KB has some thinking to do. And what do you say? Well, don't say it in a live chat, Phillips. This is why you're the smartest, because your voice is not near a microphone.
Yeah.
And then there's me. That's been a B-side. We'll call it a B-side. This goes up Thursdays at noon or 10? I always forget.
It's one of those two.
Yeah, it goes up on Thursdays. This one will probably be up next week. So yeah, this is YouTube only. So look for us on youtube.com/NGR radio. And we will be right back for the show. B-side, Nana and